back again there, YouTube. Your good friend DaSmerg coming back at you. And don't forget you can tweet at your good friend DaSmerg on the Twitters at DaSmerg. So we're doing Dynasty Tips and Tricks here, 2013 edition. Don't forget, check out my videos. I'll throw annotations up there. 2012s have some really good tips for you. So just like last year, I recommend go through, check the rosters. Get a couple of teams, maybe a team or two in mind, and go through and actually check the roster before you go start things off. Make sure you're not hooping yourself. Maybe you're a big Rice Owls fan, and you go in there and you're like, oh God. Second thought. And this is more so the point of my videos last year, and something I always recommend doing too. It just adds an extra level of challenge, and a higher level replayability is going to make you want to come back and play more and more. Is why not try picking up building up a lesser team? So if you're interested in doing the named rosters thing, this is where you would do it. It's out of that same area there. We're all under rosters. And they changed around, well, I'm not going to get into it too much, but they changed around the whole locker system. You're going to need a gamer tag. I know operationsports.com usually has a community one, but it usually comes out a couple weeks after release. I know there is at least one named roster file out there floating around. You can go in and create a player too, and you can add them onto your team. Again, that's if you want to, you can make yourself, or maybe you got a really, really bad team and you just want to give them at least somebody out there. It's not basketball. One player is not going to make that huge impact, but I think it could definitely help somewhere. And the one thing I recommend doing is Team Builder. If you're going to be building up a team, go build your own team. So that's the address for Team Builder, and it's actually pretty sweet. As you can see, since they added the website Team Builder features in 2010, that's what me and my boys have been doing. And there we go, we get into it a little bit here, and you can make your whole team from the ground up. Name, where they play, color scheme. You can copy a logo online somewhere, or you can create your own logo. Again, use a little bit of brain. If you're going to make the Portland penises and have a giant cock as your logo, somebody might say something about that if you're probably playing online. So, use your brains. And again, you can set it all up there. And another little pro tip here for you is do this Google search. And it's not the first link, it's the second link actually in the Operation Sports article. And there you go, and go to the last page, and there's a beautiful spreadsheet there, thanks to Dude, by the way, that you can download for all the named team names. And there's also a Word document. The Word document's a big jumble. Recommend the spreadsheet. And here's the spreadsheet, and you can actually go through and see all the different team names. It was pretty close to 3,000 when they started this, so there you go. And they'll actually pronounce your team name. I'm the Battling Bishops. That's been my team for a while now. So, and here's how you would download your team. So you would create your team on the website there. You save it, and then you would search by your name. Don't forget to log into the EA site with if you're on PS3. Use your PS3 login credentials. If you're on Xbox, use your Xbox credentials, or else it's not going to really work. And there you go. And this is where you would download it. You just click, just A to download it, and then it's saved on your hard drive or whatever you use into store your info. And there you go. So there's a couple of quick little pro tips from your good friend DaSmerg. Yeah, well, if you've never done it before, there you go. So let's get into it here. Let's flip up to Dynasty. You can do online Dynasty or offline Dynasty. If you're going to do a Dynasty by yourself, there is a lot of advantages of doing an online Dynasty. You can build a whole backstory. There's a great little, easports.com/Dynasty is a great Dynasty website. Something to think about. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to do an offline Dynasty. We're going to make our own coach. Again, you can use existing, or you can make a coach. Remember, if you make a coach, you're starting with Zilcho on the prestige level, so that's something to consider. And then if you're going to be skipping games or simming games or coaching games, you're going to want to set those up again. You can change them in the end game, so it's not entirely necessary that you do this right now. There we go, our coach Joe Mama, and we're in the Dynasty screen. So not much has changed here. Again, my suggestion last year: make settings that are challenging but not frustrating. Make it a challenging game. If you're just crushing the game, you're going to lose interest pretty quickly. If you're getting absolutely owned by the game, you're going to lose interest again. All-American, by the way, I found it's a great mix. If you're brand new to this, you're probably going to want to do Heisman level recruiting to start with, or not Heisman, sorry, was it rookie or whatever it is. I find 6-minute quarters, well, injuries on, fatigue on, yes. Fatigue's a little bit wacky this year, though. Quarter length, 6 minutes. Play clock, yes. I play on game speed slow. I just find the normal speed too frenetic. The player minimum speed threshold is something I definitely recommend you changing. What happens is at 50 is basically everybody's the same speed. If 40 works, I've seen a lot of people say 0 is their preference. It just keeps the slow players from chasing down your normal players. Unfortunately, one of the downfalls of this engine has been the rules. I haven't seen the rule sliders really do anything, to be perfectly honest with you, other than giving you a whole bunch of clipping calls. And really, we're playing with stock All-American settings, and I just recommend turning down CPU interceptions to 40, just because I thought the game was picking the ball off a little bit too much, especially compared to you. So you're going to want to turn coach contracts on. Generate auto names is up to you. If you want a mishmash of name players and numbered players, it won't affect the team builder team. You're going to definitely have that off, though, if you're doing the named rosters, if I remember correctly. So here we're going to get into how you would add your team builder team. So as you can see, you can swap with, and then you can stick them wherever you want. You can play out of whatever conference you want, and which is pretty sweet. Me and my gang, we're all playing out of the conference soon no longer to exist, the Midwestern Conference. So again, it's up to you. Different levels of challenges there. You go with a lesser conference prestige for recruiting, higher conference, awfully tougher like regular season schedule. You got to play all your conference. And if you want to build your own super conference, say, or you're just not agreeing with some of the conference realignments, or you just want to change all of college football to suit your needs, and this is how you would do it. You can take them out or add them in, and there you go. Then you can plop whatever team you want to. Alrighty, so that's easy peasy. So let's go to the BCS Bowl tie-ins, which is something you may want to if you're playing in one of the lesser conferences that doesn't have the automatic one, even though this has not been updated, because I know the MAC and the MAC and WAC get an automatic bowl tie-in now. But with the playoff now, we set all these, by the way, to open, and added our MW, added the Midwestern, and then there's an at-large spot there. So definitely something to think about editing in there if you're not too concerned about that. And then a flip on the right bumper there for Xbox users is that you can go through and edit the different conferences. The conference you're playing out of, you want to have protected rivals or not, what your weekday games are happening, where the conference championship games are happening. There's a couple of options in there to, again, it's nice that you can really customize your own experience to either suit what you want to play or how you think it should really look. So getting a little into this here, we're going to pick a team. Again, it's up to you. You want to play with your team, you want to play with Notre Dame or Ohio State or Bama or whatever, go ahead, play with them. I recommend the challenge, though. Go with a 1 or 2 star team, or make your team builder team a 1 or 2 star prestige team and build them up. It's going to take you a couple years just to build the team up, and then start getting in the picture for start winning championships. So why not? Again, it adds that level of replayability. The thing to consider, as I mentioned last year too, the piece of advice to consider is where is the school located and what conference is it playing out of. Where it's located is going to affect your pipeline states. And don't forget, your pipeline states, you're going to get a real number bonus for recruiting guys out of that state. And the other thing to consider is if you're like in Ohio, you've got like Ohio State to contend with. If you're playing out of like Texas or Louisiana, the big giant monster schools there that are going to soak up a whole bunch of talent of all kinds, and plus players are going to have a tendency to want to play there for the first couple of years. So something to think about. As you can see, they've done a not bad job with the 2-star ratings. I mean, it's always debatable how they rate these teams. I know I had a sorry, I can't remember your name, but the comment on my last video about Colorado not getting any love. Yeah, I don't know about that. They should be a 2-star, but for the purposes of our video here, we're going to use the University of Tulane, Green Wave. They were good back in the day. And talk about a program that fell down. Temple's not a bad school either, too. They've had their times here and there. Rice has been had some times. And don't forget about the ratings, too, the actual number ratings there, too. And something to keep in mind. Ole Miss and pretty much every conference is also is represented there. So you could be poor old Ole Miss, but for the purpose of our video here, we're going to use the UAB Dragons. And then again, you can select to start off. You want to add a real challenge. Start off as a defensive coordinator, work your way up to head coach. Purpose of our video, though, we're going to do head coach. Don't forget, we created our own head coach, so it's going to add a whole level of challenge to it, because we've got to build up the prestige of our team, our coach, our conference. I mean, that's a lot going on there. And you can make recruits before you get into that. Again, no guarantees that they're going to go to your school, though, so you can end up making some super recruits that end up being recruited by teams that are playing against you. Yay, wouldn't that be fun? And the other thing to think about, too, and the other thing to remember is it's college, man. These guys, I've played through 2 seasons on my offline one, and guys were leaving as sophomores on me. So here's our pipeline states. As I said, poor little UAB's only got 4, but hey, we start off with Bama, we got Georgia. Mississippi's got a red X there because we've got seniors are going to be leaving. Remember, you got to maintain 4 players out of a state to be considered a pipeline. And again, pipeline means you are going to get a real number bonus for recruiting guys out of that state, and then you can build up other pipeline states. You can also use when you download the time saver things, if you've got a bunch of Microsoft points that are burning a hole in your pocket there. And you can do the search function as well if you're looking specifically for somebody, or you just want to interest level here, see top 5 schools, 18 altogether here. You can do the same thing without having to do the search. Search is handy later on, though, I find. If you're, say, you've gone through your recruiting board, say you're having a pretty good season, and say you're about week 6, week 7, you can go through and double check maybe you moved up your board. Don't forget, you can check out my school here. As you can see, poor UAB, we're not really good at a whole lot of anything. A C+ at academic prestige. Wow. Man, that's going to be a challenge. So, and you can actually see how we stack up. There's a conference prestige and whatnot. Always focus on your team needs is definitely something to think about. And as I talked about last year, when you're recruiting and you've looked at your roster there, keep in mind that circular flow. Guys leave as early as sophomores now in this game. Most likely a junior, senior, especially high-level junior, senior. You're probably going to lose that player. There's no free agency. There's no trades of this recruiting. That's it. And if you don't recruit a guy, he's going to walk on. And the spark you, if you're picking a better prestige team, you're going to want to go through the top 100 players. If you're a low-level team like we've used for the purposes of this video here, the UAB Dragons, yeah, we're just going to want to go through all recruits, and then you do a quick sort by interest. So, again, we're just doing this really quickly. Oh, by the way, turn strategy. Turn these off. I would highly, highly recommend doing your own recruiting. Turn all those strategy things off. If you're not going to turn them off, go through the other screens. Make sure you're setting up the strategy so that the game's doing the recruiting for you in a way that's going to help you, not just pile on a bunch of 7 quarterbacks onto your team. Now, the big feature, a really big feature they've added this year is the scouting's been put into this game. So as you can see, we get 20 hours in the preseason level. Remember to scout you guys in preseason. You get 20 hours, and you're going to get real numbers on all their attributes and their overall. The other nice thing, too, is that you're going to uncover what they call gems and busts. And I can tell you firsthand, I had a 1-star fullback, rated 58 overall. After I scouted him, he went to an 81, and he was a gem. Had a 5-star guy who was rated an 81. After I scouted him, he was a 68. He was a bust. So it's definitely worth checking out there. Something that you definitely have to consider, and is a hugely important part of your program every year in this preseason screen, is your schedule. UAB going off to play at Ohio State, yikes. That's like one of the top 3 tough places to play in the nation right now. Build your schedule with a bit of purpose in mind. A bit of strategy. Come up with like a 2, 3, 5-year plan, and you can measure yourself against against the competition out there. So here we are back. We're in the actual regular season now. We've skipped into the regular season. Again, the recruiting screen is the same thing as before. They slashed the new things on there. Really, not too much new has been done there. You know, I don't know why there's a new one, the search function. I really don't. I don't get it. So we're going to go to the recruiting board here. And again, the scouting has been the feature that's been added. So now we get 10 hours of recruiting time and 3 hours of scouting time. Now, you can sort of automate this if you want to. And you can just select the time, and then you can press X. What would that be? Like O on the PS3. And you can do a quick call. As you see, though, I only got 21 points in my quick call. I recommend doing the recruiting yourself. Yeah, it's a bit of a drag if you're not totally into it, but you know what? It's so worth it because you're going to end up with guys. And the things that I recommend doing here in the recruiting screens, especially week 1, first thing you should be doing is scholarship offer. If you're number 1 on a guy's board, offer him a scholarship right away. There's a pretty decent probability that you're going to get an instant commit, and whatever remaining time that you had is going to go back into your pool, and you can use that for other recruits. And the other thing that they added this year was, what do you call it, the Prospect's Choice. Don't forget your promises. Those are a great tool to use. Again, you have to remember, if you're going to give a guy a promise, make sure that you're fulfilling that promise. And there's the promise screen that's in the recruiting screen here, and also there's another one in your roster when you're going through the menu of the Dynasty there, so that you can keep track of your promises and how you're fulfilling them or not fulfilling them. An easy one, by the way, is recruit out of your home state and play a game in your home state. So if you're Alabama, UAB Dragons here, play a game in Alabama somewhere. And there we go. Oh, there's the different screens there. You can check out how your job security is going on. The ESPN here screen's got a ton of stuff to time waste. Something I really, really recommend that I didn't talk about last time, build your own playbook. This way you can build your playbook around the talent of your team, not building the team around your playbook. You know what I mean? And as you can see, I've already set up, I've got my offense and defensive playbook. Defensive playbook's really handy because you can basically have almost the entire defensive set out there. So we're going to go create our own offensive playbook here. So what you're going to start off with is a base offense. Pardon me, maybe you just like a team's offense. Maybe you've seen somebody play a game and went, damn, that's a pretty good playbook. We'll start with that playbook then. And for the purposes of this video here, what are we going to use here? We're going to go over here to Nebraska using a spread offense, which is an absolute travesty for a team that used to produce some fantastic running talent. But anyways, so we're going to go first. I would recommend going into add and remove formations. So as you can see, we can have up to 40 formations, but only 378 plays. So right now we're at 25 formations, but we've used 358. So we can only add 20-ish more plays in there. So you can flip through all the different, and that's the nice thing is every single formation that's in the game is available there, and you can add it on. So you have to remember it's a combination of how many formations and then how many plays. So see with the 4 wide we didn't really hit it. With the 4 wide Trey Strong we did hit it. So this is where we would go back in, and you can even start there too, is go through your existing plays. I would start with formations first, it's a lot easier. And go through the actual plays. And why I say that is because I found there was a lot of repetition. You could be 3 toss plays, and you can have 3 toss plays out of one formation. You know, why do you need 3 toss plays of the same side? They just have 3 different names. Or, you know, you're not going to run an end around, or maybe you hate running play action, or you don't run screens, or you know, any number of those things. We'll take them out, and you open up formations for, other plays for other formations. So there you go, 2013 edition, part 1. I'll hit you back up with part 2. Don't forget, if you had questions about your Dynasty, at DaSmerg on the old twat. Thanks, and we'll check you later there, YouTube.